Morning sunlight streamed through the windows. Indifferent to the wreckage it illuminated. Sarah sat at the dining table, coffee untouched in front of her, eyes vacant. The world outside continued like nothing had changed, but inside her, everything was different. Chloe entered the room, her face bright, oblivious. She kissed Sarah's cheek in passing, chattering about a new dress she wanted to buy, about plans for a weekend getaway with Ethan. Sarah nodded. Her response is automatic, detached from the meaning behind Chloe's words. Ethan followed moments later, dressed casually, his hair damp from a recent shower. He caught Sarah's eye briefly, a flicker of tension passing between them, so quickly Chloe didn't notice. Sarah looked away, pretending to fuss with her coffee. Chloe's phone buzzed, and she squealed with excitement. "My friend needs help picking a gift. I'll be right back." She bounded upstairs, leaving Sarah and Ethan alone. The silence was deafening. Ethan shifted awkwardly, clearing his throat. "I'm leaving," he said finally, voice low. Sarah didn't respond at first. She stared into her coffee, willing herself not to feel anything. She wanted to pretend this was normal, that nothing was breaking inside her chest. "I got a job offer," Ethan continued. "Out of state." Still she said nothing. "It's better if I'm not here," he added after a long pause. She nodded once, stiff and mechanical. She couldn't meet his eyes. She couldn't afford to. Chloe returned, oblivious to the tension in the room, and started talking about dinner plans. Ethan smiled at her, that same easy smile he wore so well, but it didn't reach his eyes. The day blurred past. Sarah moved through it like a ghost, mechanically preparing meals, cleaning, answering Chloe's questions. Ethan stayed busy, packing quietly. Chloe didn't seem to notice, still wrapped up in her own world. When evening came, Chloe insisted they have a small celebration before Ethan left. She baked a lopsided. Sarah woke to the sound of dishes clinking downstairs. For a moment she forgot, floating in that fragile space between dreams and waking. Then the memory slammed into her, and her stomach twisted violently. She stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, willing herself to move, to act normal, to erase what had happened. When she finally came down, Ethan was at the kitchen table, eating cereal, scrolling on his phone like nothing had changed. He didn't look up when she entered. The casualness of it both comforted and unsettled her. Chloe breathed in minutes later, fresh and smiling, wrapping her arms around Ethan from behind. He smiled, murmuring something Sarah didn't catch. Chloe caught sight of Sarah, waved cheerfully, and sat down beside Ethan, stealing his spoon to take a bite from his bowl. Sarah watched them, her heart hammering against her ribs. The ease between them, the way Chloe laughed without a care in the world, made Sarah feel like a shadow in her own home. Ethan didn't look at her, not once. She made coffee with shaking hands, the smell of it turning her stomach. Every second dragged like a lifetime. She felt hyper-aware of every glance, every word. Terrified Chloe would see something she shouldn't, terrified Ethan would slip up, but he didn't. He was normal, too normal. The day crawled by in a haze. Sarah cleaned things that didn't need cleaning again, folded laundry that was already folded, anything to stay busy. When she passed Ethan in the hallway, he didn't speak. He brushed past her without a glance, like she was invisible. At dinner, Chloe chattered about a trip they were planning, asking Sarah's opinion about flights, about hotels. Sarah answered mechanically, every word feeling like a lie. Ethan picked at his food, nodding along, playing his role perfectly. Afterward, Chloe insisted they all watch a movie together. Ethan agreed easily, stretching out on the couch beside her. Sarah sat rigid in the armchair, pretending to watch, pretending in. Sarah barely slept. When she did, her dreams were filled with images she didn't dare recall. Morning came heavy and gray. She moved through the motions, cleaning, folding laundry, watering plants she usually forgot about. It didn't help. The memory of Ethan sitting so close, the tension hanging between them, stayed like a ghost at her shoulder. Daniel called around noon. His voice was distracted, almost mechanical. He mentioned meetings, flights, deadlines. He didn't ask how she was. He didn't ask about Ethan. When she hung up, she sat staring at the wall, phone still clutched in her hand. Ethan came home a little after, dropping his bag by the door. Chloe wasn't with him this time. His eyes found hers immediately, a silent question passing between them. Sarah stood, heart hammering, unsure what to say, how to act. "You all right?" he asked, voice low. I'm fine, Shalit. He nodded slowly, as if he didn't believe her, but didn't push it. Instead, he wandered to the kitchen, pulling 2 glasses from the cupboard. Sarah should have stopped him. She should have left, made an excuse, done anything but stay. But she stayed. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, wine between them, the storm outside picking up again. Conversation started safe, easy, stories about school, about people Sarah barely remembered. It was harmless, until it wasn't. Ethan leaned back, laughing about something trivial, his foot brushing hers. Neither of them moved. Sarah felt the air tighten again, as if the house itself knew what was happening and was holding its breath. You're beautiful, you know that? Ethan said suddenly. Sarah stared at him, shocked into silence. I mean it, he continued, voice softer now. You don't even see it, do you? She shook her head, a desperate, useless denial. She tried to look away, but he leaned closer, his hand reaching out to touch hers lightly. We shouldn't, she whispered, voice cracking. I know, he said. His fingers slid along her wrist. Morning light spilled through the curtains, harsh and uninviting. Sarah sat alone at the kitchen table, stirring a bowl of cereal she had no intention of eating. Across from her, Ethan scrolled through his phone, absent-mindedly laughing at something on the screen. Chloe's voice floated down the hallway, humming a song Sarah didn't recognize. They had slept in separate rooms, yet somehow the house felt smaller, airless. Sarah watched Ethan's face, the easy way he smiled, the way his hair was tousled just so. He looked so alive, so unlike Daniel. Chloe appeared moments later, wearing one of Ethan's oversized shirts, her bare legs pale against the dark wood floor. She wrapped her arms around Ethan's neck and kissed his cheek. Ethan barely reacted, just kept scrolling. Chloe didn't seem to notice. She grabbed an apple from the counter, chattering about plans she had for them later, laughter bubbling from her lips. Sarah forced a smile, nodding at the right moments, pretending not to feel the jagged crack opening wider in her chest. She noticed how Chloe touched Ethan, how her hand lingered on his arm, how easily he shrugged her off without realizing. Sarah hated herself for the twist of jealousy she felt toward a girl barely half her age. When Chloe went upstairs to shower, the air shifted. Silence stretched between them like an invisible rope pulled taut. You look tired, Ethan said, glancing up. Sarah shrugged. Didn't sleep well. He smiled, lazy and crooked. You worry too much. His voice held a teasing warmth she hadn't heard from Daniel in years. It wrapped around her like a blanket she didn't know she missed. She hated how good it felt. She pushed her chair back, standing too quickly. Her hands trembled as she carried her bowl to the sink. Behind her, she heard him move, the scrape of a chair against the floor. She kept her back to him, pretending to fuss with the dishes. You're different when he's not around, Ethan said casually. Her hands froze him. Daniel left that evening without much of a goodbye, the front door closing behind him with a dull thud that echoed through the empty house. Sarah stood by the window, arms folded, watching the rain fall in steady sheets. Another business trip, another silent week. She counted the number of times he had left like this, the way a prisoner might mark days on a wall. The house felt too big when he was gone, every ticking clock and dripping faucet reminding her she was alone. She wandered through the living room aimlessly, touching the back of the couch, adjusting a picture frame, anything to distract from the hollow ache in her chest. It was nearly midnight when Ethan stumbled in, his keys jangling as he dropped them onto the side table. He looked surprised to see her still awake, but masked it with a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. His jacket was soaked, his hair plastered to his forehead. He kicked off his shoes and tossed his bag onto a chair. Late night? She asked, keeping her voice light, almost maternal. He shrugged. Was out with Chloe. Sarah nodded, her heart twisting slightly at the mention of the girl. Chloe was sweet, bright-eyed, and impossibly young. She represented everything Sarah felt she had lost without even realizing it was slipping away. Ethan plopped onto the couch, grabbing the remote, acting as if the hour didn't matter, as if she wasn't even there. She watched him from the corner of her eye. Ethan had grown into himself over the past few years. Taller, broader, confidence oozing from him without even trying. She hated herself for noticing. Hated the flash of heat she felt when he laughed, the easy charm that seemed so natural to him. She turned away, feeling shame burn her cheeks. This was her son, not by blood, but close enough. Daniel's son from a previous marriage, taken into her life when she married him. It had always been easy before, loving him, raising him, but lately something had shifted. The distance between her and